we're going to move your void to the front of your stope instead of your back, and we're going to preload everything. You're never going to go back into that stope again. Most miners are saying, you're crazy, because if something goes wrong, we just lost $5 million worth of ore. So the minute it leaves your hands, you never have to think about it or touch that primer again. So you've eliminated the tie-in, the running wires, the blast line, the blast boxes, all that stuff.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mining Now. We are filming in Montreal at CIM Connect. We have a great episode coming up with the one and only Orica, and we have Adam Aubin with Head of Technical Solutions in North America. Adam, I hope I got your last name sort of right.
Pretty close, yeah.
Pretty close, okay. Welcome to Mining Now. So on this episode, we're going to get into Orica WebGen on the blasting side. So maybe to start, because we haven't done one on the blasting. Can you maybe just give an overview of Orica and the blasting innovation that's happening behind WebGen?
Yeah, happy to. I mean, to start, Orica is, we're one of the world's largest commercial explosives provider. As you may know, started in the 1800s, supporting the gold fields in Victoria. Kind of expanded out globally from there. I think innovation-wise, our core, the meat and potatoes, has always been the raw materials, the explosives, the emulsions, the AMPHO, making big rocks into small rocks. And as we've kind of progressed over the 150 years that we've been here, we've kind of transformed into like a blast management, blast support, blast innovation partnership, as opposed to just, here's your explosives, go do your own thing. No, the innovation that we've pursued the last, decade specifically has been around including ourselves in every aspect of the mining chain.
Yeah.
So we've really focused our people, our skill set, our technology on creating something of value for every step that our customers go through. And then now we're not just an explosive provider. Now we're a consultant for digital solutions. We're innovation, mine to mill optimization studies, anything we can do now. So it's been a lot of work, and it kind of accumulates well, like you said, with WebGen, which I'll warn you now, I can talk about that for hours.
Perfect.
At high speeds.
Okay.
So the WebGen stuff, I mean, at its core, WebGen is our wireless initiation system. It's built on pretty standard blasting technology from a detonator perspective. It's an electronic detonator, which has been around commercially since 2000.
Okay.
Roughly. The only difference is now we don't need the wire. There's zero physical connection.
Oh, so it's just remove that process.
Exactly. So now it's just a full standalone wireless lightsaber looking thing.
Okay.
And we can load it in a hole. There's no wire. There's no boxes. There's no physical connection to it. You don't have to see it again. And we can, interact with it and initiate it as part of a blast design remotely from, kilometers away.
For the viewers watching, the WebGen technology, can you explain it in a way that maybe even I can understand it?
I mean, they managed to explain it to me so I can understand it, so I'll do my best. No, the WebGen it's pretty remarkable. So it's a completely wireless, and I say wireless, I want to be very clear, because there's a lot of wireless detonations. There's a lot of companies, a lot of technologies that are wireless from the point of hole to the detonation box, to the blast box, right? But the detonators themselves are still wired in the hole. So when we say WebGen is a wireless technology, it's true through the rock, through the ground, penetrating all medians, a wireless communication network. We have multiple antennas with multiple ranges, up to 800 meters. And what that means is 800 meters, 700 meters, we'll say, in any direction, penetrating anything in between. We can communicate to the detonator, regardless of where it is, what position it's in, and it communicates on a magnetic inductive frequency, magneto-inductive frequency.
Okay.
So it's not radio frequency. We did that for a number of reasons that and high level magnetic frequencies are easier to translate material through or information through, right? So it's just more secure. It's better to work with when you're communicating with sensitive information. So it's a closed network of essentially built off of magnetic frequency, where we can communicate from a standalone antenna to the DRX. The DRX is the disposable receiver, and it's the item that will take the codes it hears being transmitted, formulate it into actionable items, and then it is what's communicating to the detonator.
Okay.
So it's the detonator itself looks, like I said, almost like a lightsaber if you didn't know any better. And wherever it is, it's made to only interpret communications from this antenna, only through this magnetic frequency. So you need to have the right codes in the right order, in the right time slot, and everything works quite well from there, but it penetrates everything. Yeah.
That's a pretty good explanation actually. So especially on the magnetic frequency. So for this application, that makes it's a more suitable.
Yeah.
It's more suitable, and that's a massive range as well. So
Yeah. It's huge. Yeah.
well, I was gonna ask like how WebGen has changed the landscape of blasting and mining, but you kind of just
Oh
answered
man.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Removing that wire, it's probably there's probably a direct safety correlation too with how like be able to do that from an operator standpoint as well.
Yeah, I mean, when we started, it was all about recovery. That's what the customers wanted. They were
Hmm.
using wireless to focus on recovery
Mm,
because, you can do things you couldn't when you don't have to have physical connection or access to it again. But the safety factor has become, not only its own value proposition, but it's built into every other value proposition we do, right? So
right.
if it is wireless, what we're doing, what the customers are doing with it is, rather than sending somebody back into fractured, broken, compromised ground where they're at risk, or equipment in that same scenario, we can preload a bunch of blasts so that after you
Oh,
press the button
okay.
once, nobody ever has to pass that threshold again, right?
Oh, okay.
So the best way to keep people safe is to never send them in the environment, and that's kind of what
Yep.
we're doing with the preloading aspect of it. And then from a safety perspective, without a wire, you don't get cutoffs. There's no leakage. There's no less misfires related to connection. So
Hmm.
it's a twofold. There's a lot of manufacturing safety, and then the in-field operation safety is tenfold.
Okay. Yeah. So I didn't actually realize that. So you'll plan it out, and you might have basically multiple blast setups, and then you can just go through and designate.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty is, mining is so sequential, right? You have to do one thing to get to the next. And, if you look at underground mining, for example, where you don't have a lot of space and the geometry is tough, you're taking blasts, or we call it, stopes. We take stopes, and sometimes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shots. After that first blast, everything's different,
Hmm.
Um, so now with WebGen, if you can plan it out properly and design it properly and drill it properly, you can preload all 10 of those blasts. And after, the loading, nobody's going past there. You don't
Right.
need services, you don't need equipment, you don't need people. Even if something goes wrong, you can merge blasts together, you can change what you're doing, you can adjust on the fly to situations without ever crossing that barrier or that berm again, right? So it's
Okay.
redesigning everything because you're putting all the work up front for all the benefit later, right?
Has it basically become like the gold standard now, would you say, in these blast operations?
I mean, it is still it's relatively new as far as technology goes, right? We've been commercialized since 2017, late 2017.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Um,
so it is okay.
it's new, yeah. So
Mm,
electronic detonation is still, the core value, I think, of new blasting technology
I
that has
see.
become standard. I think WebGen's well on its way. So the operations that are using it are dependent on it, and it's become gold standard at those operations. And it's all about finding the individual needs. Mine A and mine B are going to need different things. They might not need WebGen as influentially as mine B, but that's kind of my job to come in and show how WebGen can help it. But
Yeah, so do you have any like good examples of like where I guess since it's been implemented in mines in like North America or other sites around the world, where they're seeing like huge success with the WebGen like
yeah, I mean,
setup?
we have a lot of case studies online that have talked about this.
Okay.
I mean, a great example, one of my favorite examples is Newmont Borden.
Oh, okay.
Um, they've been a partner with WebGen from day one. The mine was actually, we were working in partnership with the mine as they were designing it.
Oh,
And
okay. So they're part of the development process.
yeah, so we were looking at their operation, where the ore bodies were, how they wanted to get there, and then we were able to, build development access and mine designs around the ability ahead of time, knowing, hey, you'll never need that top sill, or you'll never have to go back into that, and like the geometry and the accessibility of the stopes around wireless blasting, allowed them to design a lot less development and do a
Mm-hmm.
lot more complex things from the beginning that helps them. So that's a big success from the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I think as far as safety wise, there's lots of stories about, Muscle White was our first one, our first commercial, I think, case study we ever wrote,
Okay.
and we implemented WebGen and pillars. And it started so simple. It was just to keep the ground stable while you're mining the stopes around it. And
Oh,
now with a pillar, if it's preloaded, you can use the pillar for safety, but you don't have to leave that pillar behind anymore. right?
Oh, so when you're like, oh, okay, so then you can take that out
Afterwards.
afterwards.
So rather than leaving this pillar there and stranding the ore forever, now
Yeah.
you can use it to stabilize while you're mining stope A and stope B. And then once they're backfilled and ready, and once you as an operation are like, okay, we're ready now, you pop that pillar and it's just, extra ore at that point. So that was a huge innovation.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then like I said, what we've transitioned to now, it's all um, speed to resource. That's the hard thing to metric, but the big innovations for all of our customers across North America, whether it be um, any of the Newmont mines that I mentioned, or the Chemi mine, and it was doing the case study in Europe. I mean, it's all about getting to this ore faster. Right.
Okay.
And if you don't have to tie in, there's no wires. If you don't have to send a crew in 6 or 7 times, they're only going in once. You're bringing in more stopes, more ounces per quarter per year,
Yeah.
for essentially less work.
So there's a safety aspect of it, and then also the production aspect has gotten much quicker with
Exactly.
setting it up.
Yeah,
So that's a win-win.
absolutely. I've always said WebGen's making production, making safety productive. That's what we're doing, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, give it as crazy as the mines want to get, we can do it.
Yeah, and I guess even more so, you've touched on it a bit, but it seems like so is there a WebGen 200 product? Is that a product name?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe how does that impact, and like does that offer like more flexibility as well to the clients, well,
Yeah,
miners?
for sure. So WebGen 100 was the the inaugural version. It was
Oh,
the
okay.
first one we rolled out, and we did a lot of learning from that as a company. It was all one size primer, one size fit all.
Yeah.
It was all we had, so we made it work. It was very service based, which was great. But what we were able to do by rolling out WebGen 100 is see what customers liked, didn't like, see what we liked, didn't like, and over the years we rolled out WebGen 200. In 2023, I think.
Okay, so really recently.
Yeah. So we rolled out 2022, 2023, WebGen 200, and that was actually the benefit for me and for customers is that WebGen 200, the next generation, was built almost directly on the feedback of the customers.
Mm,
So what we learned is we needed multiple variations. Surface mines don't want to pay for underground products that can do underground things. So that's why we had the 200, and 200 was broken into, 4 different variants. You have development, surface pro, underground, and it
okay.
was tailored to the market more. And it had different safety features, different operational features that WebGen 100 did not have.
Yeah.
Different sleep times because technology changes as you roll things out, right? So it was built on all the learnings and desires that we wish we had in WebGen 100.
And a couple more on that. So maybe, and for myself in the audience, so it's with the wireless. So has it allowed for like with like you said about the placement, there's no wires. So that really time consuming before? Like is the whole process being sped up too?
Yeah, I mean, you're essentially eliminating a whole leg of the process, right? I mean, if you look at how most operations are doing it right now, they'll go in, you load your stope,
Okay.
after it's drilled, obviously, and like the loading is primarily focused on getting the detonators in the hole, the
Hmm.
motion in the hole, or whatever they're using, and then the second stage of that is typically timing it. So
Hmm.
you go back in. Sometimes you're touching the same hole, 3, 4 times, and
Oh,
you're timing it, timing the detonators, and then you have to tie those individual holes into like a blast line. That blast line has to get tied into a master trunk line in the mine, run to points of detonation. I mean, there's a slight variations depending on the
yeah,
customers, but
yeah,
it was a lot of repetitive work and just physical, hands-on, wasted time.
yeah.
With WebGen, the benefit is everything's done up front. So when you energize that primer, you get the wake up code, the arm code, the fire code, the delay time. Everything's ready to go. The minute it leaves your hands, you never have to think about it or touch that primer again. So you've
Mm.
eliminated the tie-in, the running wires, the blast line, the blast boxes, all that stuff.
So well, that answers that. Anytime you get multiple touch points on the same point, it's like you're eliminating that. It's just it's a huge plus. So there's still operations that do the old school way though.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny to call electronic old school, but I think where I'm sitting, it is kind of old school.
Yeah.
But I would think the majority of the mines are.
Okay.
WebGen is a problem solver. It's a solution.
Yeah.
It's when you need it, it does things that nothing else can do. But there is still a lot of traditional mining that can be done with electronic blasting, and even there are still mines that are using electric detonators and non-electric detonators. Um, but WebGen I look at it two things. There's a whole section of things that only WebGen can do, and there's a whole section of things that WebGen can make done easier.
Okay.
Right. And it depends as mining gets hard and more expensive and crews get smaller and you want a limited exposure, there is a lot of value on speed to that resource, like I said, and saving 5 minutes per process or saving an hour here on every blast you do over the course of a year, that's huge at the end of the year. So it's the incremental value that we're seeing that personally I wasn't expecting to be such a big hit. But it's really kind of coming into its own value proposition itself.
And one thing that people might find interesting is there's actually like there's an effect on like the social responsibility around these as well. And then also I'm looking here like surface lighting risk and reduction. So
Yeah.
Maybe you can go into a little bit on those too.
Yeah. I mean, that's the social aspect of it. And again, social responsibility looks different in regardless, again, in every environment, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, when you look at it from a high level with WebGen specifically, it gives you the ability to blast what you want when you want. So there's less wasted explosives. If you're in a civil environment, for example, you can take larger blasts, less frequent. So you're not rattling the environment, not rattling the community. You're not,
okay.
You're not interrupting the environment around you so frequently.
Yeah.
Because you can do bigger, better, more tailored blasts that perform better. That's one aspect of it. It's actually, if you look at it, it's a lot less waste, because any primer can be timed anything you want, so you don't need to get multiple delays of different detonators in as well.
Yeah.
And from a safety aspect, when you're dealing in communities, there's no physical connection to surface at all. So when you load these patterns, you can't even tell there's explosives there because there's no wires coming out of these holes. So there's a lot less risk for people, for equipment, for environment. There's less plastic and less waste in the environment, which is massive nowadays and should be.
Yeah.
So there's a whole aspect of just blasting smarter and operating almost more minimalistic that WebGen brought on as well. The lightning that you mentioned, that's a really exciting one. Explosives and lightning have always been something hard to manage.
Oh, it's a lightning risk.
Lightning risk reduction.
Oh, not lighting. I read my notes wrong. So a light. Okay.
Yeah,
that's interesting as well. So
yeah, we could talk about lighting risk reductions another time. But
no. Let's go into lightning risks. Yeah.
No, lightning. I mean, it's pretty standard, right? You're on an open pit.
Yeah.
Storm season, whether it be Arizona or Latin America, you get these monsoon seasons. As soon as lightning starts to hit, you have to evacuate. Depending on the mine, you should be evacuating the whole mine, right?
Yes.
But at the very least, there's a heavy exclusion zone.
Okay.
And that can cause massive delays and effects to production, to safety, to equipment. So what we were doing with WebGen was trying to prove, and we did, both internally and third party wise, that when loaded properly, done properly, you essentially eliminate the risk of accidental detonation because of current by lightning on a pattern.
Okay.
So what that means is you have a pattern loaded with WebGen. Again, as long as it's below a certain amount of stemming, we have standoffs and we need to have the certain pattern parameters in place. But what we've shown is without that physical connection to surface, without the wire, without any avenue or path to the actual loaded hole, you can eliminate the risk of detonation.
Yeah.
And while we would never say you can still operate on that pattern during a storm, but your exclusion zone now isn't reduced or eliminated.
Okay.
So that's massive when you get into, these monsoon seasons. Like I mentioned, Arizona, for example, gets peppered for storms for months. So what this gives us the ability to do is continuously load with less interruption to the operation around us. And yeah, so you can build inventories. That's what we want, right? Mining is all about creating a muck factory. So you want to have all these patterns loaded and waiting, and the operation pick and choose. I want to blast here now, there tomorrow, merge them together if things go well. And now we've eliminated weather as a constraint because we have insulation, we have the protection, there's isolation from the current, there's heat, nothing's a concern. So we won't set off the detonator or the emulsion column. I mean, granted, you have that stemming, like I said, but so it gives much more, a larger safety window and more production to the mine.
Yeah. So, and with that planning, because with that production, so these mines now with WebGen, they can go plan out like a whole bunch of blasts. And then when that weather comes in, you're obviously avoiding the lightning. And then once it's over, you can go right back and everything's already done. You don't have to worry about wires or anything being set off. That must have happened before then. These storms.
It does happen. I mean, it's not so like it was a lot more prominent before non-electrics.
Yeah.
But it definitely has happened.
Crazy.
And it only takes one time to be catastrophic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. and we talk about lightning risk, and personally, like I'm from northern Ontario,
Yep.
so we don't get the massive lightning storms. They do happen, but what we get is these massive snow dumps, for example.
Yes.
And the lightning risk reduction actually translates into what I call just environmental management, because if you're not tying in, you don't have to worry about wires. Then 6 feet of snow doesn't matter. 8 feet of snow, water in Colombia doesn't matter. Lightning doesn't matter. We had a pit I worked at where the foxes would come in and eat the wires. They
Oh,
love the plastic.
oh, of
And then you press
course.
that button, you have a bunch of misfires. You don't know why. But without
Yeah.
wires, it's a weird kind of, who would have thought that foxes eating wires is a value proposition, but now it
Uh-huh.
is, right?
Yeah, saving. Yeah, that's well, those foxes get. My brother was diamond drilling, and they get into everything.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not something you would think. But hey, it's a little bit on the social aspect too.
It's
So
environmental responsibility. We'll call it.
exactly. So the WebGen Surface Pro as well. So that is now, is that different than the 200?
Um, so WebGen 200 is the second generation of the WebGen technology.
Okay.
So Surface, Surface Pro, Underground Pro, Development, they're all WebGen 200. They're made for different
Oh, I
applications,
see.
right?
I see.
So Surface Pro which is our newest feature. It's very similar to our Surface detonator. The
Okay.
Surface Pro will have different specs around dynamic shock resistance, water pressure, static pressure ratings.
Okay.
It'll have just different booster sizes. So it's made for harsher environments, bigger holes, deeper holes, hotter ground, colder ground. Like it's just the next generation's the elite or the extreme version of the WebGen for Surface.
I see. So that's everything stems from that. So then with obviously this WebGen technology, it seems like the operators now, is it giving them a whole new level of flexibility when at their operations?
Yeah, the customers, I mean, to me, and I'll put my marketing hat on for a second.
Okay.
WebGen has always been tied back to two key phrases. It's patience and control. To me, no matter what avenue,
Patience
what you're
and
doing with it,
control.
it's patience and control. You have the control to blast what you want when you want, and the patience to do so when it actually makes sense for the operation. So, like I said earlier, mining is so sequential. You have to drill, then you have to clean them, then you have to blast them, then you have to go back. With WebGen, you have the ability to blast almost outside of the typical mining sequence, so you have more control. Um, the easy things, like I said, are leaving pillars, preloading. Those are obvious.
Oh yes.
Those are obvious examples of control. What we found out later is, like, as we transitioned where recovery used to be everything everyone was focused on, we want more ounces. What we're seeing now is mines want more ounces, but they want them faster, and they want less work to get them. Mining is expensive, and they're no different. Everybody wants more for less. So we had this value proposition called mine schedule flexibility, almost in line with what you said perfectly. And the whole value proposition behind that is letting mines build their operation around when they want to blast as opposed to when they should blast.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's hard to comprehend, but essentially, in layman's terms, it's not letting the blasting operations pick up and hold up your mining operation anymore. So you can preload these patterns, for example. I said earlier we want to be a muck factory. You can
Yep.
preload benches in all directions.
Oh,
And now
okay.
without wires, you can now drive over those patterns. You're eliminating congestion. You're eliminating snap, slap, and shoot. You're eliminating exclusion zones between people and humans. So if a mine wants to grow and can be continuously loading
Mm-hmm.
it with a standard technology, the more you load, you have to barricade it, exclude it off. You essentially pinch point yourself out of being able to work. With
Okay.
WebGen and the mine schedule flexibility, you preload everything. There's no physical connection, so you can use that bench that you've loaded now as a parking lot, as a road, as a catch bench, as whatever you want.
Oh, you can build like you can have them as haul roads
Absolutely,
essentially.
absolutely.
Okay.
We have a great video on LinkedIn where the pattern's loaded. A grader is following essentially the loading operation, and he's grading over the holes, so it's flat, smooth. You can't even tell there's explosives there. So now
Oh,
it's only an explosives bench when you want it to be. Right.
okay.
And then that allows you to build this inventory and give yourself flexibility. And, if the wind changes and you have to blast a different direction, now you can kind of start building resources for yourself.
Oh yeah, because you have to monitor, like the wind has to be right and everything too
Absolutely.
for those as
Especially
well.
if you're in an urban environment, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to have to not blast one day because the wind shifted. So now the whole idea is you get ahead of yourself to the point where you have muck ready to go for any circumstance. Preloaded, you drive over it, you park over it, you build your mine around this waiting game essentially of blasting.
Yep.
A lot of mines, because you lose 2 to 3 hours every time you want to blast minimum. on with blast delays, moving equipment, guarding. So what a lot of our customers are doing now is they'll preload for 6 days a week.
Oh,
They
nice.
just don't stop, and then they do one massive blast event on Saturday.
Yep.
So you kind of aggregate all your delays into one, and then you get 4 times the production out of your crews because they never stop. You're just hot loading constantly, and you don't have to
Mhm.
worry about exclusion zones, wires.
That's what you said earlier about like you do like 10 like plan out 10 different blasts. They're doing that, and then the production never stops.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's all about getting more out of each person, each piece of equipment. That's what everyone wants, right? More for
Yeah.
less.
Yeah. The and then yeah, you already touched on, so like now it's positively impacting the mining, their surrounding environment, because you can do everything in that case, you can do everything in one day, one blast. So you're not having repeat days where you're affecting like getting the shakes going through.
Exactly.
It's
You're blasting once, and I'm personally, maybe this is not Orica's. I'm not saying this is a representation of Orica, but my experience, bigger blasts get better results. Bigger blasts, you can control what happens a lot faster. And from a responsibility standpoint, what we're seeing with our customers is like they want to take fewer blasts,
yeah,
but get more muck every time they do.
yeah.
Right. And that's the same thing underground. And it comes down to what you said. There's less wasted time. There's less repeat time. But and that does two things. It gives you more, but it also eliminates the chances of something going wrong. The more you touch something and the more involvement you have in it, the more you're opening yourself up to something going wrong. So if you're loading it and you're forgetting it, it's just a better way to operate.
It's interesting because obviously we've touched on a lot of like these really great points. Is there still some obstacles with WebGen that you're seeing and having to overcome?
Yeah, I mean, anytime something new comes up, there's going to be waves to break down, right? Walls to break down. I've been doing this since 2016 with the WebGen technology. I'd say the number one hurdle was humans, industry are often scared of change. And when we were coming in and saying, hey, your void, we're going to move your void to the front of your stope instead of your back, and we're going to preload everything. You're never going to go back into that stope again. Most miners are saying, you're crazy, because if something goes wrong, we just lost $5 million worth of ore. And we're trying to explain to them that you don't need to go back in there. Like the way WebGen works, everything that you know about blasting doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. People didn't want to believe it. So you have to earn that trust with the customer, because you're essentially asking them to trust you with, millions and millions of dollars.
Right.
So getting the culture shock, the culture change was a big one. And then regulatories, the regulatory body, as great and as impactful as they are, a lot of the regulations in place don't even fully account and understand the last generation of blasting technology. Even electronic blasting is not fully understood in the regs. And then you get to the point where you're trying to explain that same regulatory body, hey, everything that we already told you about that, now it's wireless, and you can't get to it after the fact, and we're communicating from kilometers away, and it's wireless, and the ministry took a long time to understand that, rightfully so, right? So the regulatory bodies are one we tackle everywhere we go. Each province, each state, each country, we've had to engage with the individual regulatory bodies. The risks are different, based off of what you're doing.
True.
If you're driving overloaded holes, you could talk to anybody who's been in mining for 20 years. And you say, I'm going to drive a 300-ton truck over my loaded pattern. It doesn't sound.
They still probably think back to the wire days.
Well, they don't. It's crazy to them. They don't want to hear it. And they shouldn't. And they didn't. You couldn't do that before. So it's getting the benefits to be recognized above the new risks, which is something we're dealing with or did deal with. And you prove that out one step at a time. But the regulatory body was a hard one. And you're changing 50 years of thought, right?
Yeah, that's a big. I mean, we talk about it a lot on the show because, and then even like on the safety, like one of our other hosts, Roy Slack, he started cementation. So there is always that learning stage in that mining. But man, you can get into some really, really good innovation, like with WebGen, as the education happens and more people go, oh well, we can actually drive over the loaded the charges.
You know what? I'll be honest. Out of all the mining methods that we've tried with WebGen, I'd say 90% of them started because a customer said, it'd be nice if we could have done this. And we're saying, hey, now you can.
Yeah.
So getting them to trust you. And I'll give one quick example. We have a gold mine we work with in Northern Ontario. When we started WebGen there, we told them, you're averaging 70% recovery.
Yeah.
We can get you to 95. But we're going to do things completely different. And to them, especially near the end of the year, 70% is what they're budgeted for. They want more, but they need at least that 70%, and 90% would be nice, but they don't know anything about WebGen. So 70 is better than zero,
Yes.
So getting them to like, you're not going to see the value unless you do something different, and getting somebody to take the chance to do something different to get to that value was hard at first, and then that same customer, we were supposed to save them $3 million over the course of a year. We ended up saving them 13 and a half.
Wow.
Because you start with one, we're going to move these holes, we're going to preload this, we're going to these small Swiss cheese effects of benefits start to line up to an operation that size, and then all of a sudden the dollars and cents start racking up faster than anybody imagined, and the risk profile seems smaller because the benefit is so large. And then once you do it 2, 3, 4 times, it's proven. It's not a risk anymore. It's just formula.
So your innovation's coming a lot of times for WebGen directly from those customers.
Oh yeah, yeah. We said, like, our very first slogan was, like, there's nothing off the table now. You want to drive overloaded holes, you want to leave them behind, you want to preload up holes. We did underwater blasting for the Navy.
Okay.
Like, we're talking about doing avalanche blasting with water.
Oh yeah, that would make sense.
There's like anything you think of as an operation, whatever your pinch point is, whatever is holding you up and giving you a hard time, we can almost guaranteed solve that now.
Okay, so that's it's a call to action. If I ever heard one, it's like, if you've got that problem, like, that could involve blasting, talk to you guys, because there's probably something that could be.
Yeah, the beauty of an organization like Orica is that any problem that you might have at your mine site, we've almost guaranteed seen it somewhere else.
Yes.
Right. So we take these shared learnings, and we're building applications for the mining companies, right, for the customers. So if you have a problem, there's definitely a solution that can be had.
Yeah, and where is this all headed now? Like, so I think you mentioned the Surface Pro, because we've talked about the innovations, the mining value chain. I don't know if we touched on that, but I think you did, because of maybe to expand on that just a little bit, just so we don't miss it. What is the WebGen's impact on that value chain? Is it kind of talking about, like, that savings that they're seeing, like, at that mine?
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to, blasting is it's the one aspect of mining that if you don't do well, it affects everything else down the line from you, right?
Yes.
If your muck is too big, too small, if you have fumes, if you have, whatever it may be, you choke yourself off with a lack of void underground, then you're dealing with a whole bunch of issues, hang-ups. So what WebGen essentially is doing very easily is giving better blast results, which will speed up every other process from you from that point on. And then moving forward, you can, take bigger blasts with less holes, because you can design them differently with WebGen. You can get more out of your crew. So rather than running a mine on 4 crews, maybe you run the mine off of 3 crews, and that 4th crew is off doing something else. So it's freeing up resources, it's freeing up drilling, and it's giving you better results, which makes bolting faster, ground support easier.
Right.
Muck handling.
So it's a huge impact on that, because that's the start of everything. So
yeah,
if you can improve that, then the whole operation could.
It all comes down to more for less. We're going to give you more ounces at the end of the year for the same or less amount of activity, which is what we're all here to do, right?
I guess, going into some of the trends that you're seeing, I love that the product is like, it's almost like innovation happening. It's almost innovation happening, like, not on the fly, because nothing's on the fly in mining, but it's with the customer feedback. And are you seeing more trends in, like, technology that's coming in with like the WebGen technology as well?
Yeah, the biggest trend is safety. Like, I would say that we're seeing the mines are deeper, the seismicity is a big problem, ground failures are a big problem. So people, we have a number of global partners we work with that have implemented, global mandates eliminating anyone near fractured ground or within 10 meters of it actually gets pretty hard to operate when you as quickly as you were with these safety standards in place, right? But you can't change the safety. So with WebGen, we can solve that, because there's no preload. Everything's preloaded. You're never going back to any open holes. So the trend that we're seeing is they're more open to technology now than ever before, I would say, if it's solving that safety problem, because safety is paramount. Productivity is a close second. If you can make safety productive, then it's no longer a hurdle. And then that's how you get mass adoption, because people want to be safe and they want to be productive at the same time.
Yes.
So we're changing the way they operate. We're removing the risk before it's even there. And that comes into the number one trend that we're talking about, and I'm sure you'll hear about again, is automation. That's what we're talking about.
Right.
WebGen is the cornerstone to our automation project, which is the Avatel.
Oh, that is okay.
And that's how we're going to keep people away from the face. So it's a semi-autonomous mechanized loading system that
okay.
we can now, scan, load, and blast a face without an operator ever leaving the cab. And that's the trend that matters most, is keeping people away from danger.
So that Avatel is tying right into it now as well.
Absolutely. It's a partnership with Epiroc, so it's built with two companies that know underground mining very well. And yeah, the whole idea is replace the most dangerous aspect of mining, which is exposure to falling ground, and do so with not only not interrupting the production, but also increasing it.
Is there even more innovations coming soon that can be expected from the miners for around these products? It's a little bit of a tricky question.
It is hard. I mean, I think what we're going to start seeing, if you look at WebGen specifically,
yeah.
I mean, we want longer sleep times, smaller products as time goes on. That's something that everyone wants. So outside of the basic kind of operational constraints of a product like WebGen, people want to be able to communicate longer, farther, for longer periods of time.
Yeah.
That's something that's always being talked about, but it really, to me, the real kind of next step is automation.
Okay.
Blasting is the only part of mining, underground specific, that is not automated. You automate everything else. You can't automate that.
Yeah, that's a good
and
point.
It exposes people the most. I've been hit by rock. I've been hurt. I was on mine rescue. I pulled people out that you didn't want to see, and it's such an easy thing. Without wires, everyone's been tackling how to automate the loading and drilling, but how do you physically handle this bird's nest of wires, right? Now that that's gone, the culture and the whole industry is kind of behind automating this.
That will be taking that risk out. Man, that's going to be, you want to get to that. I mean, that they talk about zero harm. It's just another step on getting it so that you can mine like faster, better production, the best safety.
Yep.
Like obviously that'll be spectacular.
Absolutely.
It will drive even more people that want to get involved with the industry.
Well, I mean, the whole next generation is now you have a whole generation of people that grew up playing video games, and now you can do the exact same thing while operating a piece of equipment that's running a mine.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot of step changes coming.
Yeah, Adam, this has been I mean, it's the videos of the blasting is always it's pretty cool to see. I guess in closing, is there anything maybe that you want the audience to hear about that maybe we haven't covered yet? Any final thoughts on that? I mean, we went through a lot here, so this is
a lot to digest.
Yeah.
No, I think for me, I just want people to realize what's possible. So, I mean, as far if you're, whether you work for a mine or you have there's nothing off the table anymore. Between automation and AI and the wireless capabilities, there's almost nothing that can't be solved. So just ask the questions.
Okay.
Because I can't tell you how many times we've had a miner with 30 years experience saying, I wish I could have done this 20 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And it's a revolutionary change from this point forward. So ask the questions, and don't be scared of technology. At this point in mining, we should be scared of not changing more than changing. So I think just ask the questions and be open-minded as an operator.
Yeah.
Because it's the small incremental changes will lead to much larger value down the line.
Excellent. Okay, well, that's fantastic, Adam. Thank you so much for joining. And we will thank you everybody for watching this episode of Mining Now at CIM Connect in Montreal. We will have links for Orica, WebGen, all the good stuff that we've talked about on today's episode, including Adam's LinkedIn, so you'll be able to get a hold of him directly too. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe to Mining Now on YouTube. Well, I guess it's under Crowns and Partners. Follow us on LinkedIn. Follow Orica. And thank you for watching this episode. We'll see you again next time.